On today's episode of Playbook of the Wealthy, you're going to learn why, when, and how you should be hiring a financial advisor.
Fee only, fiduciary, CFP. They must be those. I don't know. What does Yoda sound like?
That sounded great. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Playbook of the Wealthy. My name is Dave Grant. My co-host is Heather Townsend. We are talking today, just like you heard in the teaser, about why, how, and when you should be hiring a financial advisor. And, because we're transparent, if you even need one. If you haven't been to our podcast before, we split our content into 3 sections. Used to be 4, but based on feedback, it's now 3. We talk about our content, we dive into some questions, and then you get to know us personally. Heather's going to intro our first section.
Let's dive in.
With motions.
Yeah.
If you're listening to the podcast, you missed that. So come hop over onto YouTube. You get to see a lot more stuff than you can listen to. So we're talking about when you should be hiring a financial advisor.
I mean, it varies per person, but when things are starting to get complicated, you aren't making progress, you can't handle it anymore, you need to hire a financial planner. But I want to start out so that our listeners understand our transparency. Not everyone needs a financial advisor. Someone who making a good W-2 income, they can really only put 10% in their 401k, and that's it. They don't have a lot left over. Maybe you hire an hourly financial advisor to just review what your investments should be in your 401k, and if you should do pre-tax or Roth. And after that, they should not be paying someone ongoing. Someone at you and my caliber, these are people with complex issues. My clients are building businesses. They're retired. They have excess income. They have big goals. Some of my clients literally are just like, Heather, my wealth grew too big. I need someone to keep me organized and keep on track. I can't manage it anymore. They could actually do it themselves. They got themselves to a great level of wealth themselves, but they literally cannot manage it anymore. Then, of course, I sprinkled in with my tax things and stuff they didn't expect. And then they're like, oh, wow. But point being was the original reason they came to me was things were just getting too big and too complicated. They needed help. Retirees, I mean, you know this the most because you really, really specialize in them, right? But that also is a huge value add. If you have multiple different accounts, IRAs, taxable brokerage accounts, Roths, where do you pull from? How much can you pull from? How do you do this in a tax advantaged way? Also, how about the DIYers? What are your thoughts on that, Dave?
I think there's a certain type of person who can do this by themselves, even if they are not qualified to be a financial advisor as a profession. Like they love learning. They've learned all about how to manage finances and manage their situation. They may need a one-time, let me bounce some things off you, but they do not need something ongoing, all-encompassing, because they know all that already. That's an interesting case because sometimes people know too much and they get stuck in this paralysis by analysis. But for people who are aware, they can do this by themselves. I kind of relate it to be, someone who does DIY in their house. They can do plumbing work. They could probably do electrical work. They can do all these things even though they don't do this as a job. So they don't need to hire a plumber. They don't need to hire an electrician. In my case, if I did some of this stuff by myself, I would break my house and my marriage. So I hire out those things. And that's where other people get into, I need some financial advice because I want to save my marriage by not tinkering in all this stuff that I want a professional to do.
And I will also say there are points where, let's just say in my life of my business, clients needed a financial advisor. And then it kind of got to a point where their income flattened out or their business didn't grow like we expected it, or I did as much as I could. And I honestly said to them, I don't think this makes sense anymore.
Yeah. There's a season for it sometimes.
There is.
Yeah. I really think the when that people kind of figure out, they're in 2 camps. One is there's a life transition going on. So for me in my practice, it's people want to really focus on retirement planning and get this transition done well and right because you do this once. If you have to do it twice, that means you've gone back to work because you didn't do it right the first time. So it's those big transitions, or it's when parents die and you have an inheritance coming in, you're like, this completely changed my situation. I have to figure out what to do, either to be a good steward of what my parents have left me and create a legacy, or because I have no idea what to do with it. And I've never seen this amount of money before and I'm a little scared. So it's that life transition, but like you said, it's also understanding when you're not at your best and you need to find someone who is at their best and you're willing to pay them. All right, so that wraps up the when. Let's talk about why you should be hiring a financial advisor. You flooded the doc with stuff. So I'm not going to have you sit on your hands while I talk. Go for it.
Well, I like data. Okay, so I pulled 3 studies. They took the percent of how much alpha got added to a client's portfolio on average from using a financial advisor. And alpha is the added return, net return to a portfolio. Okay?
Yep.
So Vanguard's alpha was 3% in net returns per year. These are things because of rebalancing, proper spending and income planning and retirement, behavioral coaching, tax efficient strategies. I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast. Morningstar's was 1.5% per year in extra return. And then Russell Investments was 3.75% per year to clients' portfolios. Now, let's just take Vanguard's 3% per year in value added, okay? That doesn't sound huge in a single year, but compounded over decades is massive. It's nearly 1.5 times the original wealth.
The funny thing is, when someone says, you get alpha by using an advisor, it sounds a weird phrase, but like you're going to get extra returns by using an advisor. In most cases, it means something slightly different, because a DIY investor is actually going to handcuff themselves and just chop themselves off of the foot the whole time and not get the best return. Whereas an advisor is not going to do as much damage to a portfolio and get better returns because they're not doing as much tinkering. They're not going to do all these things that advisors add. And by that case, they're getting a worse return.
I could see that. I do think DIYers, when they have come to me because they're like, it's just gotten too big to this point, they're not doing the tax efficient strategies. They're not, doing an asset location by household portfolio. Agree, 120%. Okay. But some of them are really in index funds, I will say.
So that's a good why. You add alpha and get better returns.
I couldn't be doing this job if I wasn't adding alpha. I lose energy if I don't think I'm adding value to a client.
So I would say that is not the primary reason why people search out financial advisors.
What do you think it is?
I think they just don't know what they don't know. It's so many questions building up. And they either don't want to find the answers or they don't know where to find the answers. And they want help to do this.
So that's the interesting thing with this whole ChatGPT phenomenon, which it's an amazing tool, but you have to know the questions to ask.
Mm-hmm. Also, when you get the answer from ChatGPT, do you know how to implement that? Because ChatGPT brings up some wonderful answers. Because you can say, how do I build a tax efficient portfolio? It will give you 5 things to do. And you're like, don't know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got the answer. I don't know how to implement.
So another alpha, I love studies. I love studies and data. Do you know that investors miss out on 15% of fund total returns?
I didn't. You're going to tell us.
Morningstar did a study. It was in wealthmanagement.com. And investors miss out on 15% of fund total returns. When you have a financial advisor, I'm not letting you sell. I mean, yes, to go buy something, right timing. But if you're just freaking out because the market took a 10% dip, you have to go through me first to make sure you're not going to sell out of emotion.
And I think that's the pre-step to that is people should be looking at hiring an advisor if they're trying to figure out what they want to do in life, because then that will guide the selling and buying of investments. So it's lining up all those goals, all those values, and understanding who you are and what you want to be and what you want to become and who you want to leave things to and in what state. then you now have a purpose behind all your investments. And that, like I said, triggers the buying and the selling. A nice value add, if you hire a financial advisor and you kind of go through the whole process of understanding what financial plan is, and they say, your estate planning's lacking. Let me introduce you to an estate planner. Us as professionals, we have now taken that whole task off that person's plate, because now you don't have to go and research what an estate planner is. What's the best attorney to use? Can I just use my friend who does real estate? No, a real estate attorney is not an estate planner. Two different things. Mm-hmm. And so we have just made a lot of that so much easier.
I think we've covered the why. How? Where do you go to find one? All right, I'm going to get passionate about this because this really goes back to my values and is literally the reason I went out on my own versus working for someone else. And I want to be straightforward. There are some really slimy, sleazy, bad financial advisors out there.
Agreed.
They give us a bad name. Like sometimes that's why I like to use like financial planner, wealth manager. I don't like to say financial advisor. Like, I don't know, because there's just really bad ones out there. Okay.
I wish there was a name that we could use for ourselves that is guarded. Yeah. Just for us. Mm-hmm. And there's not.
So there are 3 things, listeners, that I want you to make sure your financial planner, advisor, whatever, has. They are fee only, they are fiduciary, and they have a CFP. Dave's great at explaining things. So Dave, explain fee only.
All right, fee only is a compensation structure that an advisor goes through. Fee only means that they cannot take kickbacks or commissions from anybody, and the only way that they get paid is the fee that you give them in whatever form that is.
So let's give an example. You're working with an insurance agent and they can sell you life insurance and they can also manage your investments. Run. They're not fee only. They are taking commissions, and most likely they're going to recommend you a product that might not be in your best interest because they get a bigger commission. Can you tell I'm a little passionate about this? Drives me bananas. Yeah. Fiduciary, this makes me sad. Like, I feel like this should be something every financial advisor should be required to have if you are it. I don't know why this has to be a thing. It should just be a law. But basically a fiduciary is...
Hold on. Yeah? Let me tell it in a story where people completely understand what a fiduciary is.
Okay.
A fiduciary is where you're going to get fitted for a suit or a dress for a wedding. Someone who goes under the suitability standard, like an insurance agent, will sell you a suit that fits you, but you might not look your best. A fiduciary will only sell you a suit where you look your best, it's the best price, and it's only the best for you.
Yeah. They are legally required to act in your best interest. That is a fiduciary. That is only what you want. All right.
Any insurance broker is not a fiduciary, regardless of what they say.
No.
They're not allowed to be. They are captive to their insurance company. So they are not in your best interest. It's in the insurance company's best interest.
Okay. And CFP, rigorous certification, it requires you to learn a lot about comprehensive financial planning, way beyond just investments. It's important.
This is the tricky part, because you can have a certified financial planner who is also an insurance agent. And that's where people get tricked up by saying, oh, well, my advisor is a certified financial planner. Where do they work? Northwestern Mutual. Like, all right. So they know a lot of stuff, but have they designed you a financial plan that is in your best interest and offered investments outside of Northwestern Mutual?
So fee only, fiduciary, CFP. Pretty little bow. Oh, and if anyone's wondering, Dave and I are all 3. Oh, and I had an interesting question from a client that they were just wondering, and you explained this really well. What's the difference between fee only and fixed fee?
Technically, they're probably going to be offering the same compensation structure where you pay them a fee and they don't get kickbacks for anywhere else. But a fixed fee advisor is probably just going to offer something for one price. Fee-only advisor can offer various different types of compensation, but there's still no kickbacks, but it just may be in a more flexible way.
Okay. So would you say, since I have like a minimum and it's a flat fee, right? But then it kind of goes up based on net worth, would you say that that's a fixed fee, or am I still fee only?
You're fee only.
Yeah.
You don't have a flat fee because your fee changes.
Mm-hmm. So it's somewhere.
Fixed fee is going to be someone who says, regardless of if you have $100 or if you have $100 million, my price is $6,000 a year.
Places to find them: NAPFA, NAPFA, XYPN, Find an Advisor, Garrett, Advice Only. I haven't heard of them, Dave. Advice Only?
It's new. There's more advisors going over to it, but it's typically for people who are just mainly fixed fee, who are just charging for advice. They're not managing investments.
Great. I do like this on XYPN's Find an Advisor page, where if you're looking for a niche, like a certain focus, I think that's really awesome. And there are advisors that specialize in equity comp, retirees, business owners, real estate. There's a lot, going just divorced. I mean, you name it, there's niches out there for sure.
Agreed. The questions I get are, okay, so if I'm going to go interview 3 advisors, do I ask them certain questions? Like what do I need to do? Think of this as dating. Like, go into the room and that's your first impression. If you are sat around a big mahogany table and it's just looking very fancy, if that's not your style, then that's not who you're going to pick. If you walk into the room and it's comfortable, like if you're sat on a couch, they're sat in a comfy chair, and that's what you want a comfortable environment, then that's a +1 for that advisor. But you should be asking them questions. How do you work with people? If I email or call you this day, how long should I be expecting a response from you? Like, is it a day or is it 7? Ask them the hard questions. Start to understand what this relationship will look like. Because you've already done the pre-screening of they're fee only, they're fiduciary, they're a certified financial planner. They're meeting high standards anyway. You need to go in and understand, what is your process? What's the relationship going to look like? And does that fit what I'm looking for?
And ask who their typical client is. Ready for questions?
No.
I need a pretty little bow?
No.
What?
YouTube. People have found us on YouTube. That's where you're going to find a lot of advisors who like creating content. If you go and watch what they say on YouTube, and that way you can learn their communication style, if they are good at explaining things, if they're not, if they are monotone, if they just talk in a very solid, no, don't go there. Go to someone who you are actively engaged with already. And so you're reading their things, you're watching their things. If they're not creating anything, I don't like that. I like the creatives. So if people are just sat behind a website, I don't like that.
Do you know what else I really don't like, now that Heather's just going on a tangent? Advisors that don't walk the talk. Like, they advise all this, but their own personal finances are a mess and they don't take their own advice. I don't like that. It really bothers me. Because how can you relate? Why would you want to? I don't know. Honestly, Dave, that's why, and we won't go into the details, but us knowing each other's own financial lives, right? We've had those conversations with each other. And I know you walk the talk. Like, I couldn't do a podcast episode with someone who's saying all this stuff and then not doing it.
And secretly a crypto bro, Heather, I'm sorry.
Oh, geez. Oh, I know.
And this is the final episode of, no. All right. Before we move into what would you do, if this is your first episode, listening or watching the show, there's nothing for you to do. You can skip past this. If this is not your first episode, if you still think we're doing some good content and you haven't liked, comment, subscribed, followed, put it in the boys and girls chat, send it to your mom, whatever you've done, please do one of those things. Really helps us expand our reach and get information to more people. Going into our next segment, it's called What Would You Do? This is the questions related to our content, just in case you need some more clarification.
My husband passed away last year at age 68. Oh, I'm sorry. That's really young. and handled our finances. I'm also 68 and realize I need assistance. What should I focus on when interviewing a financial advisor?
So you are going to be a widow, 68, walking into a financial advisor's office. I would recommend not doing this alone. Take a neighbor, take a child. Go and talk to this advisor and understand, can I have a conversation with you? Can you explain things to me? Because chances are, if you have not handled the finances, you're starting from ground zero. You're going to need the basic things explained to you. This is after you've done the steps of researching who this person is. Fee only, fiduciary, CFP. Those are your minimum requirements. Because you are now going to be lining yourself up with someone who is going to take you through some pretty interesting experiences through the rest of your life. And you want someone who's going to be there for the long term, can explain things well, pass your kid's BS test, because you may not hear or see something and your kid would be like, Mom, no, let's go find someone else. And so that's pretty much the approach I take.
And remember, fee only, fiduciary, and CFP. I'm going to say that a few more times probably. Okay.
Question number 2. I'm retiring next year, and I'm aware there are some things I don't know the answer to about the transition. Is it too late to hire an advisor?
Absolutely fluffing not. No, I don't believe in this too late. This is actually one of the most important times to hire an advisor, because if you do this wrong, like I think you gave a great example before, Dave, if you do this wrong, you might be going back to work in 10 years, right? We don't want that. And remember, like just one example we gave, if you listen to episode 34, asset location adds 6 to 15% more wealth in over 30 years, right? So that's just one. And taxes, I mean, we've done retiree episodes, but taxes, I mean, the savings there, this is a really important time. So no, go find a good one. Fee only, fiduciary, and CFP, please.
You just upped your game. You just did a callback to a prior episode and its number. Whew.
I know. I know I've been making you really happy recently with my
Level up.
I'm leveling up, yes. My neighbor works as a Northwestern mutual agent, and he says he can help me organize my financial life. I'm sure he does. He's a nice guy, but is he an insurance agent or a financial advisor?
Take a guess. He's not a financial advisor. He's an insurance agent because he works as an insurance agent at an insurance company. Any financial advisor who works for an insurance company doesn't work for you. They work for the company. So let's kind of understand that part first of all. They're not independent. They work for a company.
I have a question for you on this. You might know this. I've never worked, obviously, as an insurance agent trying to be a financial advisor. Are they allowed to say that they are a financial advisor? Do you know?
Yeah, it's not a protected phrase. They can call themselves whatever.
So they can, yeah, okay, key.
So if they give you some advice on your finances, they can call themselves a financial advisor.
Okay. My answer to this about your neighbor, no fluffing, no. They're not fee only, they're not a fiduciary, and they're not a CFP. They don't meet my 3 criteria. So no. All
right, let me give you a story.
I love
stories. Before I launched my firm, so this is now 15 years ago, I interviewed at New York Life. You ready? Okay. That was a reaction. I haven't told you the story yet. I'm mid-interview, and the guy is getting to the end, and he's like, so what we'll need from you is we'll probably need like 50 friends, neighbors, family members that you're going to write down, and then we're going to like start talking to them and understanding their situation and see if they need insurance. I then shoot back, how does this fit in with Dave Ramsey's 7-step plan of getting your finances in order? That was the end of the interview. He said goodbye, and he escorted me out the building. It was done. So it's like, that gives you a clue of like, these people are not interested in making sure you are set financially. They're interested in selling you things.
No, and I can't tell you how many I've had to unwind for clients, these bad policies that are sold to them. Let's end on a happy note. I really hope that this was helpful. for you listeners, because if you can't tell, I'm very passionate about people getting good financial advice and honest financial advice that is in their best interest. So hopefully this helps you weed out the good advisors from the not so good.
All right, going into our last section, it's called highlights. This is where you get to know about something about us personally, whether you want to or not, because you have to keep listening or watching. It's not a choice. All right, I've got two. One just came up. It's not really a highlight. My dog got hit by a skunk yesterday, like partial spray. She smells still after we have washed her, washed the house, and I go to pet her. It's like on the top of her head. And I'm like, oh, I love you. I can't be near you. But that's not the real highlight.
I would die.
Anyway, that's not the highlight.
Okay, no, but that's hysterical.
Just she's outside my door right now, and I can smell her through the door still.
Yes, like, you need to go to the grocery store and get tomato juice.
Thanks, Mom. I am aware.
Okay.
The real highlight is it's football season in our house. So my son is a sophomore. He's a backup on the varsity team, which means he dresses to play on Friday night, then goes to practice on Saturday morning, his real game's on Monday after school, and then he has practice every day after school. My 7th grader has practice every day after school, except Fridays, because then he goes to watch the high school game, and then he plays on Saturday or Sunday. Needless to say, schedules in our house are interesting. Granted, we do enjoy football and watching them, but it's a busy extracurricular time right now.
Do you go to all their practice games? And this is for serious questions because I'm curious of how this goes in my life in the future. And do they just go after school directly to practice, or you have to go pick them up from school, take them to practice, then you go home for a few minutes and then come back? Like, what is this looking like here?
In high school, they stay after school to practice.
Okay.
So it's from 3 to like 5:30 every day. The junior high schedule is they come home and then their practice is from like 5 to 7:30. So family dinners are like one time a week.
Whoa.
Yeah. But we don't have to stay at practice. We can drop them off and just go back later. So, but then we go to the games. So we go Friday night, Monday night, sometime on the weekend, depending on the schedule.
My highlight is with my car club last night. They got us a private room at a movie theater and a freezer. We had to be like escorted through the movie theater into this back room that then went to another back room that then went into through a freezer door. And it was like this private theater room. It was so cool. And I watched F1 with car people. And that movie is amazing. And the music, have you seen it yet?
It comes to streaming next week, I think. So I'll be watching it then.
That was one of those movies that I was really happy I saw in the movie theater. It was really, really good. I thought it was really well done.
Nice. I've heard good reviews of it. Like I was trying to get, someone else in our boys group was trying to get a date arranged and we couldn't get one. But that's a cool experience though, to go with gearheads.
Oh, yes. And the questions are like, okay, what car are you trying to buy right now? And da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, oh, this is my like happy place. And like the guy I was talking to was, and it's like very particular. He's like, I'm trying to get a 2006 to a 2009 911. And I'm like, oh yeah, why that? Why that year? I'm in my element. Mm-hmm. It's so cool. All right. So that's my highlight.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Playbook of the Wealthy. You can find us on whichever platform you listen to podcasts, or the video version is on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. If you have questions and you want to send it to us, you have to listen to Jordan's disclaimer coming after this message, and then you can send a question. But you can send a question to hello@playbookotw.com. And we'll see you next time.
Toodles!
All opinions expressed by Dave Grant and Heather Townsend are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the views of their respective wealth management firms. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Nothing in this material constitutes a solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Clients of Retirement Matters and Townsend Financial may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast.